Ready to go.
Okay. First thing I want to ask you is about your mission. I think it's changed since last time we heard. What is it now?
Well, yeah, we weren't sure, who was going to do tribal engagements and who was not. My mission primarily is all in governance capacity building. So I am now embedded with the vice chairman of the Anbar Provincial Council, which means I spend, sometimes 4 days a week with him, up to 2, 3, 4 hours a day, just sitting in his office, going over different issues, bylaws, legislation, trying to hammer out issues. We have a big separation of powers and enumeration of powers issue that this country will have to work through, just like we did between Baghdad, the central government in Baghdad, and the different provinces. So, and it's been pretty rewarding, and I've just learned so much about the challenges of trying to build a democracy.
And you're hoping that helping rewrite these bylaws will provide more structure?
Exactly. I mean, the things that we take for granted, are just unbelievable. And I've said this before, but, attendance, a standard order of business, a standard order of debate, how a bill actually becomes a law, they've had none of that because it's been a top-down, run state, nation forever. And so they're starting from scratch. They don't have any technocrats or folks like that know any of this. So just trying to pull, the staff in Springfield has been great to help me out as far as, hey, I call them up or send them an email and bounce things off. And so it's worked out well. This is one of those cases where it's been a good fit of, maybe the skill base that I brought in and trying to help, at least Anbar province.
So is it pretty different?
And I've sent some pictures back for folks to see, just of buildings that are just riddled with bullets still. So the infrastructure there is different. Obviously, and I can't think of another way to say this, but the level of professionalism, not because they're not professionals, but just that they haven't gotten to that level of experience yet, is a lot different. And they do not have a process or a system. And, there's one thing that my predecessor or one of my colleagues and my predecessor talked about a lot was, respect this process. And seeing this here and seeing them struggle with it, it makes you realize that, we need to respect this process. It should not be treated the way it's been treated at times in the past.
What have you enjoyed most about being there, or what has been most what has been most rewarding to you about being over there?
Oh, I think the actual, actually sitting in the council when they're having session, and when they just all of a sudden get it on their own, when it clicks that we've talked about agendas and having a standard order. What makes you feel good is when they do it of their own initiative, and it's nothing that you that you brought forth. It's almost like a coach with an athlete that when that athlete all of a sudden goes to that next level, and that's been pretty rewarding. Because I look at this, everybody wants the troops home, and we're going to hear so much of that in this upcoming campaign season that we'll all be very, very tired of it. But the way we get out of here is we teach the Iraqis how to fish rather than fish for them. We teach them build their capacity so they can make the decisions on their own, so they can have an element of stability and structure. And that's what I'm trying to help with, and that's what a lot of my colleagues here are trying to help with.
I was going to say, it seems like a lot of people criticize the war, but at this point, do you still believe that it's warranted?
Well, I think it's difficult for me to say anything like that, given the two hats that I wear. I will just say this: whether we like it or not, whether we wanted it or not, it came. We've had it. We're in the middle of it. The question now is, what do you do? What do you do from this point forward? And yeah, we could just pull up stakes and leave right now. What would that mean? What would that mean long term? What would that mean for the sacrifices that have already been made? I think knowing that we're here, knowing that what we've spent, what the sacrifices that have been made, what's the best step from this point forward? And I think, General Petraeus came along with a pretty decent strategy, this counterinsurgency capacity building exercise, and we can't stay here forever, and we know that. So, my goal is to get them geared up as much as possible before I go home. It's really that simple. It's more difficult than that, but at the end, that's the mission.
And when do you get to come home?
September, October. You've got to go through. We've been pretty fortunate because there hasn't been a lot of violence here. It's all random. There has been some, but our unit's been very lucky. So, but when you get back, you have to go through a decompression phase. Where you just you turn in your gear and you make sure physically everything's okay and mentally and those types of things. So that can take several weeks out at Pendleton before I get to come home.